Central Creativity. It's the hot seat coming up next. All right, Rhye and Jenny. Typically, I start off by saying, "How did you accidentally fall into franchising?" But it's been a journey into franchising. So we're gonna skip ahead. Rhye, if you want to start, Jenny, you want to go second. Give me the background on how you go from idea to business to franchise.
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it all has the same, I think, core underpinning, and that when you go into education, there are a couple of reasons why you do it. For us, we did it because we really felt the need to help connect learners with a future, and so for every step of our journey, that was kind of the common thread throughout it, is that in education, our jobs aren't really complete until students have careers. And so we started this journey because we wanted to help people understand that students don't have ability issues as much as they have resource issues, and so do classrooms. And so Jenny has been in education, and she'll tell you her part of this, I'm sure. I came into education from industry. I came into education through television and film. And so one of the things that we often fail to understand as educators is that education fails for reasons sometimes that have absolutely nothing to do with education at all. Their process, their implementation, their brand, they're helping young people identify how they relate to the information they receive. And so we started Central Creativity, number one, to help grow powerful thinkers, because if you can't process information, you can't take advantage of it. And the tools that were built at the time, especially, pre-COVID, and then when COVID struck, the tools weren't really the right tools to help educators transfer ownership of information to learners. And so Jenny, as a brain-based, educator and researcher, had some really great opportunities there, and we wanted to create a platform. And so that's how it started in the beginning, was we wanted to create like a resource that the community could access in our region. And then it, as it proved successful, the region grew bigger and bigger and expanded. And then as a franchisor, we didn't initially set out to even be franchisors in the beginning, as I think probably some companies don't start that way. It just kind of organically grows into that. And we realized that if we wanted to help grow impact and share this opportunity to grow impact in communities, we needed to have a platform for that. And that's how franchising started, at least from my standpoint.
Jenny, your version?
Oh, absolutely the same way. I was a former teacher and then was a consultant who traveled the country, being a fly on the wall on classrooms throughout the country, and listened to teachers and listened to administrators and watched students interact with the content that was presented to them in these classrooms, and saw that there was a need that needed to be filled for these teachers and students, and there were gaps in learning, and there were opportunities for us to come in and provide hands-on opportunities for students and teachers, and we just went from there.
Jenny, do you think education is shifting almost in real time without us even watching or understanding it, that it's gone from one size fits all in that here's the structure of education, not the materials, like then that's obviously the problem that you're solving, but you sit in the class, and if you can't go at the pace that the teacher is teaching at, then you are dumb. You are pigeonholed as non-educatable, versus like the transformation is happening, and now you're on the bottom of here saying, okay, well, if we can give everybody the same playing field, and they're curious and they want to learn, then they're gonna have the means to do it. And so the question is, are you seeing the shift in real time, and do we even understand as communities that the shift is happening?
That's a great question and a great observation. What we have found is that students, no matter what their ability level is, all will do better through hands-on active learning opportunities. And that doesn't matter if you are in preschool or if you are in the workforce and an adult learner. Everyone is going to learn best by doing. And that is basically what we have founded Central Creativity on, the idea that everyone is going to learn better if they're presented with opportunities to do real world applications of the content they have just learned. We also think it's important to have classroom teachers have the ability to scaffold that information depending on the ability level and the foundations that their students have. So we feel like it takes all parts of all these puzzle pieces together to really grow impact.
Rhye, I have a big question too. I mean, I have lots of big questions, but so there's talk about AI like never before in today's world. You can look at companies like Salesforce hiring expertise that says we're going to hire humans who can use AI to obviously speed up the work. AI is great, but what Jenny was just talking about is experiential, and AI doesn't change that. And so if the transformation in education is hands-on, AI can simplify portions of learning. It may mean we don't have to be as great of spellers or writers in the future, but that doesn't change the experiential side. What is your take on that?
So, that is a fantastic question. And it speaks to the core of education's learning gap and instructional gap. AI is certainly a useful tool. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's similar to the intervention of calculators in the math classroom back in the 1970s and 80s. There was a lot of pushback against that in the beginning. The problem isn't with AI. The problem is the relationship between learning and the learner. And so AI in and of itself is a useful tool, but it doesn't help you to make those critical leaps in comprehension, those intuitive grasps of how do I connect this piece of information with this piece of information to solve an outcome. And so AI definitely is a part of everything going forward. AI is a real part of that, but AI doesn't handle the fundamental comprehension issue. And so, central creativity, for want of a better word, is we are a collaborative partner to all learning that takes place in communities. We're platform independent. We love public schools, private schools, homeschool. We love after school programs, museums, and every one of these institutions have that same challenge you're talking about. How do we leverage the resources we have to help learners succeed? And so we work with a very diverse group of educators that are working with a diverse group of learners, like Jenny was talking about. Whether you're in an accelerated program or whether you're speaking English as a second language, it doesn't change the fact that we're both trying to comprehend and we're both trying to grasp information and take ownership. And so I think AI is here to stay. I don't think it's going away, but I think the way we interface with it is going to evolve as we get forward. But yet again, the issue with AI is how do you make sure that it's meaningful? And that's the struggle.
Right. For someone that's watching this, and obviously step one is introducing you guys and your visions and your personalities as thought leaders. What is the franchise opportunity? What is someone buying into?
So, when this is a franchise that, I'm sure a lot of people say this, but is this a franchise that is about opportunity? So if you're the kind of individual that wants to make a change in your community, if you understand that there are gaps in our ability to serve our future learners, if we're trying to develop a future forward mindset for our community engagement, we're a community engagement partner. So when we move into a community, we work with industry, we work with education, we work with the citizens to try to help create common resources that drive the common good for everyone in our community. I mean, we believe that communities are only as vibrant as the learning opportunities that take place within them. And so if someone is interested in essential creativity, we call it Your Learning Your Way. And so we believe that just like, no two fingerprints are the same, neither are the students that exist within classrooms, but the classrooms are unique as well. And so what might be the right answer in one community or in one classroom might not necessarily be the most effective way to reach learners in another one. So we believe that learning has never been and never will be a one-size-fits-all solution. So it's a very flexible approach to how do we engage with the learning audience. And we're always about the outcomes. We're an outcome-driven organization. So if people are looking for that, if they're looking for a way to get involved and make a difference, I think we provide a relatively unique approach to that aspect. And the fact that we're not a threat to anyone else in the learning community, that we're actually a collaborative resource partner, I think allows us to do some neat things.
Simplify it even more. What are franchisees selling? Take me through like what would a day look like for a franchisee?
Oh, I mean, it depends again on the community, but it's not just about services or products. It's about what are the solutions that you're providing in your community. So, for example, you might be serving field trips for your schools in your community, and Jenny can talk about a lot of these things. But we have between the products we serve, we have a completely holistic approach to learning, where we cover our whole school's learning approach, whole brain learning to education, where we have summer learning programs, we have before school programs, after school programs, in school programs, we have field trips, we have STEM events. Every aspect of the learning continuum that takes place, there's a resource for it, and it has to be there, because you never know where the opportunity is going to land in your relationship with your learning market, or where the need may be. So we've spent the last 5 years building out a lot of different resources for a lot of different learning audiences. And I think that's one of the things that Central Creativity provides, is kind of this ability for you to be flexible in your learning environment, so that you can meet the real need and not just the perceived need. And that if there is a need in your market, we have a tool for you. And then if we don't have a tool created, we are a complete manufacturer. We have a very large design team in-house. We do everything ourselves, because we understand the learning, and there's brain-based research in everything we do. So the designs, and I realize I'm talking a whole lot, Jenny, but
No, you're great.
these are the things that matter in education, right? It has to look great, it has to be attractive, it has to be engaging, it has to be easy to teach, it has to be approachable, so that teachers can implement things. It doesn't matter how pretty it is if the teacher can't bring it to the classroom in a way that they can engage with, and that learners actually want to experience, it's not going to succeed. And I think, Jenny, it's these things. It's why we work with partners like NASA, is because we create resources that help our partners and learners do well.
All right, Jenny. So if I unpack Rye's answer and now flip it to you and say, do you want, and you're both. So do you want educators? Do you want salespeople? Who is this persona that, if you're painting the picture of who should be thinking about this, what do they look like?
I think that it's really someone who wants to grow a more vibrant community within their own community. I think that there's a place in our business for educators and for salespeople and for business people, because everyone within a community is going to have some ownership and going to have things that they wish were better and want to improve. So we would love someone with some background, obviously in education, but I feel like we can also find a lot of teachers who perhaps want to help in the running of that business to make it, what they need it to be for their community, because we don't think every community is exactly the same. We know that every community is going to have different industries that are there, and different school settings that are there, and so we want to give our franchisees the ability to make their part of the world a better place to be, because Essential Creativity is there.
Okay, so love that. Now, Jenny, to again simplify it for someone that's thinking about this, because obviously, like, you can buy into, there is a need for educational resources in pretty much every community that exists. And so you guys at headquarters have created products, services, camps that now the franchise owner, it's not like they have to be the educator. They're more so servicing the community through products and services that you guys have offered. So they have your catalog. They're in that community building relationships. What else for the franchisee would they be doing?
So they would be building a network of people that could, again, either that could go out into the schools, that could really embed themselves in the community and making it stronger. So that could be done in a variety of different ways. You would have the ability to work at the teacher level and train teachers, to go into the schools themselves with after school programs or camps, or signature school partnerships, which is another thing that we do. You can go actually have a campus, a classroom potentially on a school campus, and be there really at the ground floor to helping propel your community forward and improving your schools and all working together as a team, because none of these things can take place in isolation. We feel that everybody needs to work together to really grow the meaningful impact that we all want.
Rhye, will franchisee have to be a leader for leading camps, or is that something that you outsource?
So that's an interesting question. We call it You're Learning Your Way for a reason. We have both versions available. So if they want to have in-person camps themselves, and by the way, when we say camps, just for anyone that's interested, we're talking about a turnkey solution where they literally just have to find a partner with the space. We'll train them to train the instructional teams in the community, or they can, or we'll train them directly depending upon the ability level and the background of our partners, in the franchising space. So, but basically, we do it all. We give them everything they need. We train them on the implementation of it, and then you're talking about bringing things like NASA to a community. We have we have one of the most robust summer learning opportunities I think that are out there, from urban ecology to NASA Astro Camp to the energy camps to a lot of the different hands-on literacy programs and things of that nature. We have a lot of different ways for them to connect with the market. But what they're going to find, if you're trying to make a difference in education, one of the biggest questions is, how do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you get involved, and how do you make a difference in a way that the community can actually understand? And so, in addition to those tools and those resources, they also get our metrics and our analytics side of the business, which is very unique to us, in that we have amazing resources for them to connect with their learner audiences and to help their stakeholders to identify what worked and what didn't work in these beautiful reports and things like that. So there are a lot of things that there are a lot of tools they're going to have that will kind of differentiate them from the other learning opportunities in the community. And the goal obviously is to educate the community itself. Like, let's be partners to all the people that we operate with and help them to understand that these are high quality STEM outcomes, or these are, amazing learning resources that we can all take the best practices from and elevate our own, offerings that we serve. So we don't like to think of ourselves, as learning competitors. We like to think of ourselves as learning collaborators.
Jenny, as frustrated as you were as an educator, and obviously the frustration leads to you creating a solution, you weren't just creating it for educators, you weren't just creating it for children, you were also creating it for the educational districts, or whatever the school districts are in the community, that just don't have the means to get to the solution, the NASA connection. Is that an accurate thing? Like, it was more so, it wasn't just one dimensional on whose problem you were solving.
Oh, absolutely. All the things you see behind me are things that we felt there was a need. We don't develop anything unless there's a need for it. And so, for example, with our camps, and we use the term camp very loosely. Camp can happen anytime during the school year. It doesn't just happen in the summertime. It happens before school, after school, in school. So we find that the experiences we offer are things that speak to the needs that a lot of the same problems occur from district to district. It doesn't matter where it is. Teachers need their time back. They need easy solutions. Students want activities that are engaging, that pique their interest and make them think about, what is the career path that I want to take after attending this event. So the things that we provide and that franchisees would have access to would be this entire library of experiences that there's a need for in every community, wherever it is going to be able to find useful and beneficial.
Rhye, is this somewhat a race against time? And I that's obviously a large statement, but you have your headquarters in Laurel. You're most likely going to have your first franchise operations in Kentucky. You have some that are on the periphery, but there's so many students out there. And I'll give a real example. I was listening to Rahm Emanuel, the former mayor of Chicago. Last night I was listening to one of his interviews that he was recently doing. And he's talking about how Chicago eighth graders have the lowest percentage of Chicago eighth graders can read today in the history of the city, and if we don't solve the educational problems and the other things such as crime and poverty, other things that go down the line, it will never get fixed. Was his point of view. But you're not in Chicago, and so is there like a sense of urgency, and is that why you decided to franchise? Like that was going to give you the best opportunity to get out there?
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. Learning engagement rather is a relationship. So if we want to reach learners, number one, we have to understand the people we're reaching, and that changes in every community, right? The children that are growing up and learning in a rural environment are going to have a different relationship than with their teachers and with information than kids that grow up in an urban environment. And so, in the past, teachers have just had kind of a one size fits all. Here's the resource, go use it and adapt it as best you can within the classroom. And, the high performers succeed at it. The low performers, that's who we try to serve. And the kids in the middle kind of just have to. And so education's never really been about educational design, rather, curriculum design and implementation have never really been able to focus on the person that's being instructed. It's more along the time of this, we've got 50 minutes and we have to get all of this done in a day. And we have all of these challenges that we give teachers and expect them to just adapt on the fly and do that. And so like what I love about Central Creativity is the freedom that it gives teachers in the classroom to be able to bring real solutions in that make a meaningful difference and that are so much fun. When we have so many amazing stories that enrich your heart and make you feel so great about what you do for a living. But what really matters is, what are those outcomes? Are these students taking this information and making a difference in their own lives? And so you have, anecdotal evidence that things succeed, but anecdotal isn't enough. You need to have qualitative and quantitative proof that what you do is work. And so Central Creativity, what we do is we create resources that help to drive those measurable and meaningful outcomes. And I come from the world of data and media and brand and all of these things. And when I came into education, what I realized is we're repeating each other's mistakes over and over again because we don't communicate the success as well. And that's one of the great things about Central Creativity. If somebody's looking for a franchise, hopefully they're the kind of person that either understands the opportunity, understands the problems that we're trying to solve, and believes in themselves that they have the ability to go and connect with their market. And so, yes, you can come from industry, you can come from business, you can come from finance, you can come from the classroom. As long as you have a team that understands that the goal is the learner outcome, then you have all the tools you need to be able to serve that market. And it is a very, very fast growing and ever evolving market. And we, as a partner, we're committed to staying on the forefront of those changes. So we spend about 40 cents of every dollar on R&D and research. We create every summer for summer camps alone, we create about 2,000 new experiences every single year. And I don't know many people that can say that. And so we are constantly innovating, partnering, collaborating. I mean, and that's the other thing is the network that people can gain access to of our facilitating partners like NASA, Napa, Auto Part, a lot of different people, a lot of different people. But it's a fun opportunity. But more than that, it's very, very impactful. And when you make a difference in communities, outcomes lead to income. And so whenever you're providing a service that's meaningful, you're always going to find that's a viable business model as well.
Jenny, I want to close on your vision, but I want to say this comment first and this could be a whole nother topic that eventually we talk about. But Rhye, you just talked about like the curriculums are rushing into a 50-minute classroom. I've read that to become an expert in something, you need 10,000 hours against it. So that's impossible. Like kids won't ever be able to become experts in it unless they're able to choose their own curriculums and say, this is what I want to be when I'm older, so that every moment is committed against it. And then I just Googled how many hours does it take to create a habit, and it takes 66 days. And so even if I had a class every single week, every week for a year at 52 weeks, at one class, that's not 62 days, that's 52 hours against it. Yeah. That won't help me become sophisticated or build a habit. But a very fascinating statement there. Jenny, what's the vision now for the business? Obviously, you're just launching into franchising, but paint the picture of the vision.
Well, in a perfect world, and Nick, we have to get 1% better every day. You know, that's the key to, and that's how kind of we think about it. Is if we can reach one learner, if we can make one teacher's job easier, if we can create an activity, create something that resonates with that one student, and oh my goodness, I never thought I could take this, take this path for the rest of my life. Then I would feel like we had really done what we set out to do, which is making a difference. And that is what it's all about. We would love to see as many central creativities as on as many street corners as possible, so that all students and teachers and communities have access to all of the things that we can provide for them.
I love it. I'm gonna close by saying this, and obviously I've studied your guys' brand extensively over the last few years. It's rare that something new comes up in education in franchising. It's either the very large box businesses that are curriculum based daycare. I'm oversimplifying it. Or it's at the bottom you have the tutoring type franchises, but it's almost like the tutoring franchise are after you go to the doctor and find out what's wrong with you, they're there to fix it. There's nobody on the front end saying, well, before you get to the point of needing a doctor, here's how we give you the repair. And that's like you can see in wellness with weight loss, for instance. It's always the industry has been, now that you are obese, now let's solve it. It hasn't been like, well, here's how you prevent getting obese in the first place. And so I'm oversimplifying it, but what I love about your guys' business is you're creating the solve before it gets too late. And when it gets too late, in my opinion, confidence diminishes, belief in yourself diminishes, and your dreams as a child go away because you've come to the conclusion that you're just not good enough or smart enough to do what you want to do. And if we correct that at the beginning stages of this, and we do that through business, which will allow entrepreneurs to bring this into their communities and be the wellness, the education wellness, to make sure that you are at least conditioned as best as possible. I think you guys are on the pathway of doing great things. And I appreciate you sharing some of your story and doing this with me today.
Thank
It's a lot of
you.
fun.
Of course. For Rhye and Jenny, this was another Franchisor Hot Seat.